Hey guys, STLYoungblood with you, and today I wanted to start a mini-series of sorts, and it's basically going to be an update to some of the previous videos that I've done about picking the right ship. Now, this one's going to be a little bit different though, in that we're going to be focusing on roles and using the new information that we've got about ships, as well as just being able to fly some of these, to kind of help point us in the right direction. So for this first episode, we're going to be doing picking the right ship, the exploration version. Now, before we even get started, please note that things change constantly, so this could be totally different in a month's time. In addition, these are also just my opinions. Yours may be drastically different, which is okay. We're allowed to have those differing opinions. Finally, to avoid the inevitable feedback that you're not buying ships, you're funding the development of the game, I know, and that's true. But you're buying into the development of the game and getting a ship in return, but everyone is actually looking at the cost of the ship and what you get for it. That's why we're doing this video. So now with those disclaimers out of the way, let's go ahead and jump on into the real content. Exploration is an interesting thing in the game, and I think there's going to be a lot of people wanting to get out there and kind of stamp their name on something that they end up discovering. You know, maybe that's an asteroid field with a lot of good resources for mining, or maybe it's a new species of flower or bug or something that you want to name on some crazy new planet. But the temptation to jump out into the unknown has this sort of value that's been instilled in us from Star Trek over the years, and just any other star show that you're kind of used to, or even just explorers have passed here on Earth. But I think it's worth pointing out that there's several different types of exploration and different ways to profit off of it, and as such, different ships are going to certainly be better than others at those roles. So if you're intending to do what I would kind of call small-scale exploration, there's some cheaper ships that are probably kind of screaming your name. So let's start the bidding at $40 with the Mustang Beta. And the Beta is actually one of my favorite ships just from a design standpoint, because the interior of it is just so well designed, and it's really reasonably priced way to get into exploration with its stock Leaper jump engine. Now, it's worth noting though that the Aurora LX is the starter ship category, is in the starter ship category as well. So the price is similar, but the overall design of the Beta is just so much better in my mind. And the LX is currently not for sale, so it's hard for me to suggest you waiting on the LX to come back up for sale. The Beta overall is faster, and it is more agile, though it is a little bit more fragile, and comes with one less gun stock. So in the cheapest category, that would be my recommendation hands down, the Mustang Beta. Now here's where things start to get a little bit more interesting, because for only $25 more, you get what I consider to be one of the just kind of my favorite designed ships on the exterior, and it comes with much better weaponry, shielding, and pretty much everything. The 315P at $65. Now this is an Origin ship, and I think this is where things start to become a little bit more challenging for you. I sort of envision the 315 and the Mustang Beta falling into similar, smaller range exploration. You know, neither of these ships is going to be known for going, and breaking distance records, as these are smaller ships, and they're likely going to need to fill up more often. Now, they've talked about the ability to fuel scoop in space to kind of give yourself a little bit of extra, fuel. But I think the existence of ships like the Starfarer, who are going to specialize in stuff like that, mean we're not really going to see self-sufficient smaller ships. They're going to rely on other aspects of the game. So here's where you kind of get into the difference, and I think that's because the 315 has a better top speed with bigger engines, it has drastically stronger weapons, more maneuvering thrusters, and comes stock with a tractor beam. With the Mustang Beta, you have to make the choice of cargo or living quarters, but with the 315, at least where it stands today, you get both, though it really isn't much cargo at all. Now, I personally think that for $25, you get a lot more ship, but that's really going to be up to you. Now, I've managed to actually fly both of these, and even with just the Omniskies on the wings, the 315 just feels like a competent fighter. It's not going to blow anything out of the water, but it's decent, while the Beta feels like a sitting duck. Now, one thing that definitely works in the favor of the 315 is that it comes with a jump scanner, giving you the ability to track your jumps and sell that data to others down the line. That really is kind of the essence of exploration, when we start talking about this, turning your discoveries into profit. Now, that may not be the most noble exploration essence, but we all need money in this game. So you pay more in the beginning, but I think you get a lot more profit in the end. Now, past the 315, this is where the cost really starts to spike a little bit, and we're jumping up to the Freelancer DUR. Now, if you're unfamiliar, there's 4 Freelancer ship variants, and the DUR is the dedicated explorer of the group. Now, the base Freelancer would make a great explorer too, but the DUR is actually my #1 recommendation here for all of you. So if you have the money, the $125 Freelancer DUR, which is short for duration, is the ship that I would suggest really over anything, including some of the more expensive exploration ships. There's a lot of reasons to really love the DUR, like sacrificing some cargo space for an enhanced jump drive, an advanced jump scanner, and you get an expandable fuel tank system. Now, if you remember how I said that ships like the 315 and the Beta aren't going to be the long distance champs because of their fuel restrictions, I think this ship totally counteracts that. It can carry more cargo, it has the equipment to succeed, and it has a couple of other really nice benefits. The first of which is that it's only a two-man ship. Now, keep in mind, the first two that I talked about were like single-person ships. But I personally think that for an explorer, that two-man slot is sort of the sweet spot. You can hire an NPC for a reasonable amount. You can use another game package that you own to be kind of your secondary person. You can actually go out with an organization, partner or a friend. Or finally, you can go solo without screwing yourself completely. Unlike some of the other larger ships where you're really sacrificing your overall effectiveness, you're not likely giving up a whole lot of ability rolling out solo in the Freelancer DUR. The other sort of kind of unwritten benefit to the Freelancer class is that it's the largest ship said to fit in the smallest jump points. So it can go further distances overall than things like the 315, but it can also fit into points that the larger explorers like the Aquila or the Carrack can't. It really is kind of that sweet spot where if I was an explorer, it's what I'd roll out in. This one's my best in class award if you're a hardcore explorer and this is in your price range. That's kind of why this ends up being my overall recommendation. After that, things start to escalate pretty quickly, and with only one more currently available for sale, and that's the Aquila. Now, the Aquila is the dedicated exploration variant associated with the Constellation line, and the Aquila comes with a price tag of $275, but it is probably the most well-rounded of all the explorers that I've mentioned to this point. You get a redesigned cockpit to give you better visibility. You get an expanded fuel tank, jump point scanners, long-range navigation scanners. You get a P-52 snub-nose fighter, and a rover for the planet. So what this ends up meaning is now you have a ship that's capable of exploring the planet side, exploring jump points, exploring far distances in the system, and you can even deploy the snub-nose to get into smaller places and do some smaller-scale exploration too. The things to consider about the Aquila are that it takes more people to do the same job with a four-man crew. It's basically, you're talking about cutting profits. So it's either more people that you need to share with, or that means more NPC that you end up needing to hire. The effectiveness of the exploration, though, should be significantly better with more people, but you're also possibly going to be limited in the larger jump points in order to travel. So is all of this worth $150 more than the Freelancer DUR? I really don't think it is, but there is no questioning that this is probably the most complete explorer for the money. And if you're in a situation where you have three friends and you're all going to go explore together, almost to get that Starship Enterprise feeling, then I think this is the right ship for you, especially if you all chip in on it together. But you do need to know that you all need to own your own game package to actually get into the game. And then at the top end of the spectrum, we get to the king of exploration potential, and that's the Anvil Carrack. The Carrack was available for a concept sale a while back, I think back in December, and while it boasts a lot of awesomeness like a rover, a sweet upgraded snub-nose fighter, reinforced fuel tanks, advanced jump drive, a computer core for charting jump points, and a mapping sensor suite, however, at a price tag of $350, it's starting to get pretty damn expensive for the majority of players out there. However, it does come with a few nice aspects that make things interesting, like the ability to carry a lot of cargo, at least by exploration standards. Now, this isn't necessarily a requirement for an explorer, but let's say you're out and about and you find something on your travels that's worth a lot, it'd probably be worth your while to bring it on board. This, more than any other exploration ship, can make that happen. And it's also probably going to be the king of mapping, as it was originally a military ship. So if cartography is your game, this could be your ship too. Although any explorer should be able to do that. And then when you look at the boom arms that kind of project, which I'm assuming help in the jump point mapping, I think this thing's going to be really good at that sort of stuff. Now remember though, it's too big to make it through the smaller jump points, which is why we start to see dedicated roles starting to pop up for these different exploration ships. It also has a 5-man crew, the biggest of the exploration ships, which again means that you've got more people to end up paying. Now, this ship can end up being a pseudo-capital ship for smaller fleets and organizations, or if nothing else, it could be a good command and control ship. Now, is it worth the price? For some, the answer is going to be yes, but I think for the majority of players, a smaller ship is going to fit your needs a lot better. Now, before I wrap this up, I did want to say that there are other non-dedicated exploration ships that I think could make for good explorers if they're utilized right. The Vanguard Sentinel comes to mind, just as an example. It has an electronic warfare suite, which means that there's a lot of computing power and sensors, and I would have to imagine that by some way or purpose, they could be kind of turned into that exploration type of system. It's also got some other nice benefits like redundant systems, meaning that if something breaks out in the abyss, you've got a better shot of limping back home. I could also see a ship like the Banu Merchantman being a decent explorer, but frankly, we don't have enough information to talk to that yet. Another big-ass ship that's on the horizon is the Endeavor. It's not released yet. It hasn't even hit its concept sale yet. But it's sort of a medical and science vessel. And if the science portion ends up panning out, you could have a large-scale kind of exploration base. And finally, anything labeled as touring should do a fairly acceptable job at exploring. Oh, and any of the freelancers, I think, should do a good job, too. I think when it really comes down to recommendations, though, if you're going out solo or going to go on the lower-end price spectrum, the 315p is your clear choice winner. Now, if you don't mind crossing that $100 barrier, though, then the Freelancer DUR is hands down my favorite choice today. And if you have the money and the real players to play with you, you could go with a Carrack and get a whole lot of versatility, or save some money by going with the Aquila, but frankly, for most people, the DUR is going to give you almost everything that you need. So if you have questions, put them in the comments, along with any recommendations that you have if they're anything different than my own. Also, I'm kind of curious which of these you want to see next. So if you want to see me do the picking the right combat ship or picking the right cargo ship, tell me which one you want me to do next, and majority is going to win. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. So until next time, I appreciate you guys watching this video. Have yourselves a great day, and take care.